Good evening, everybody. Welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we make Minecraft mods live on camera, and quite frequently things go horrifically awry in the most entertaining of ways. So, I have done a fair bit of work. Yip feeder. Aww. Thank you very much. Although I don't know that I can buy very much for 122 to, like, eat at 9:15 in the evening here. But nonetheless, heavily appreciated. Thank you very much. And let me see. Yeah, so this past week I have done a fair bit of work on the changelings. Mostly it's visual based. It's not necessarily like AI or like functionality kind of based. I did also add a changeling disguise to the witch patron, which looks pretty good, but I do believe there is a slight bug with that right now that I need to change. And then we might not see it for a while, because it's got like a 3% occurrence currently. So, yeah. Is that all? Is that the only thing that could be causing that problem? I don't, yeah, probably. Elf, Crone, Fox, Changeling, Witch. Elf, Crone, Fox, Changeling, Witch. Yeah. Elf, Crone, Fox, Changeling, Witch. Good. Super good. Right. But yeah, other than that though, my major thing for this week has been trying to get the efficiency of finding rooms inside the hives down, like, well, up, I guess, dramatically. Because it works, but it is the definition of brute force, which means it is going to eat as much CPU as is necessary to accomplish its goal. And whilst it does get faster over time, so that because there's like fewer points to go through every single time, initially in that check it is huge, and that means big impact on server performance and as such. So the smaller we can get that, especially given that we're going to be seeing multiple, maybe half a dozen, maybe more, different hives active at once when you finish the thing and get them all started, we want to make sure it's as efficient as possible. But yeah, also, yes, we have Box Fox. We do also have Carol, she's just off screen here, but yes. So yeah, let's just see how I've been going. So previously, if we look over here in the box room, the major, like, there's a little bit of change here, there's a big bit of change in the box room functions itself. So the first thing that happens is, if after growing it in 3 dimensions all at once, we find that our box is too small to actually use as a room, then we immediately ditch that position, because that is, no, it's clear at that stage that position is never going to be useful to us. After that, big change over here. So here's the old form of how we did this, which was just loop in loop in loop, and do we already contain it? Skip it. If we don't contain it, but it's in that kind of section in the list, then we go, otherwise we immediately just return empty and say, yep, we can't do this anymore, that kind of thing. The new version is significantly different in that we basically just add all of the given Legos to our list, and then we remove any that are outside of what would be, like, the specific chunk, like, layer that we want, and if the resulting size of contained Legos is equal to the surface area on that side, then we know we've got all the pieces that we need, and therefore we can grow it a bit, which makes it still kind of slow, because we've got thousands. I think in our test world here we've got, like, 5,000 pieces, but, yeah. Turns out child points don't show up in VODs. There's no on-screen for it, so yeah. But that said, do you see the results of our spending points? Yes, I wish I saw the results of your spending points. Apparently it increases, according to Twitch anyways, channel points apparently increase viewer engagement by 18%. They don't increase streamer revenue by 18%, but, you know, it's a start. So here is my testing. So I've got a button here that sets the random tick speed back to 3, as well as actually places the rift in there. I've got another one over here that removes it, clears out the big space up there, as well as set the tick speed to 3000. That's used for resetting after test. And this little redstone cycle here basically is a clear and obvious indicator of whenever the server is lagging tremendously. But as luck would have it, here we indeed have the new changeling disguise for the witch. And yeah, I dove in heavily here on the xenomorph inspirations. So we've got the mantle of the xenomorph queen, we've got this tail at the back here, and we've got these little hands just sort of moving around at the front. And also they're big. But yeah. Oh, and there was a bit of lag, just as I was thinking of it, and that was about 5,800 milliseconds behind, skipped just over 117 ticks. That is what we're trying to avoid, essentially, because that will happen not hugely regularly, but regularly enough that we have problems with it. So, anyways, let's push our button. There's the crone disguise now. So, there we go. Tick speed gets dialed up tremendously so that all of the creep dies away, so we can get a nice fresh test, as it were. It doesn't get rid of all of the egg-like points and such, so we need to get rid of those by hand currently. That is something we can maybe look into doing fairly soonish. Oh, there we are, some more. Okay. And then if I push this, the random tick speed goes back down. We see the creep coming back out at its accelerated rate, and keep an eye on the redstone, everybody. We have frozen time right there. And it's progressing slightly, but it's not quite getting back up to speed. There you go. And that can cause some other problems beyond just the fashion of, well, I, like, froze time, that kind of thing. So we do need to bear that in mind. That's something we do need to fix up, and I did also turn the draw box back on so we can see, like, whilst I was changing up the finding algorithm just to see that everything was fine. And that's interesting. How do we find this room, I wonder? I guess it was a 2x2, but But yeah, that's what we're trying to get rid of. That's what we're trying to fix. Why does turning around and seeing that just seem incredibly ominous? Besides the obvious factor that it is. The witch, by the way, is the only one that can't teleport, at least currently. Can I just, like, lock you over here, just so I know where you are at all times? Just to be sure. Wonder how that got there. There. No leaving. But yeah, other than that, the changelings do have a full and proper texture now. So, yeah, looking pretty good. They have a few elements of glow-in-the-darkiness, but for the moment, they're pretty good. The texturing on their feet there, little footsies, is the same exact texture, in fact, as the creep, so it blends in quite nicely, gives them a nice little connection to it. Should Burrow be a top-tier vampire again, or should that have gotten stripped from them with a change of worlds? I mean, could be, like, different worlds, and therefore different Burrow. That's my usual approach to it. Many things can stay the same, but not necessarily in the way you remember them. So, here we see they've got the wings, which now flutter appropriately, very occasionally, like a fly sitting on your table, essentially. We got the, like, legs moving, we got the arms moving, we got the head looking around, we got the full texture on it. Looks pretty nice, and it does seem like I've got a little bit to work with, a little bit of work to do on the glow in the darkness there, I think. But these are all generic changelings. They are not any of the multi-form changeling, I guess you'd call them, the actual, like, disguised changelings, who I think I'm gonna try and make these guys look like maybe the elven disguise of the witch, maybe the human disguise of the witch. You decide, I guess. But everything else is actually gonna be like animals. So let's go hop back and see what they're up to. So there's the generic, as it were. And over here we see the hidden ones. How about the witch? What do you mean? So naturally they share the exact same texturing. And also the same animations, because that's all driven by the iChangeling element. And my favorite piece is that the sheep changeling now actually has wool. So if I get some shears, we can shave the changeling. And if we call it Jeb, it'll actually look like the rainbow sheep as well. So in fact, this is where I have to remember what that name tag has to be called, isn't it? 10 display name. Is it underscore Jeb? Anybody remember? I can never remember. I'm going to find out. It's not that. But thank you for helping me out though. All underscore? Yep. Jeb underscore, thank you. There we go. So, there we go. Jeb the rainbow changeling sheep. And of course, if we set our factions down low enough, it just becomes a regular rainbow sheep. You'd never know. You'd never know. Dinnerbone the witch. Is that specific as well? I can't remember. If it's specific, I don't know what it is. Capitalized? There you go. Enjoy, everybody. Enjoy. That doesn't mean some disguises are gonna be, like, straight up head in floor, but... oh well. But anyways, so tonight we are working... excuse me, I need to exit here, thank you. Thank you. Tonight we're working more on their AI, so that they will do more stuff involving the hives and as such. And they look displeased. Could you blame them? Could you blame them? So the first thing that we did last week was we tried to get them navigating around the hive. So if we hop back in, we will occasionally see them trying to get back to like the actual rift position. And let's see, I can just push the other button. I got that. So much easier. And of course, we see the lag spike again that I've been trying to combat, but flying is currently on the case. She might have seen an algorithm at some point that might help with it, but for the moment, I'm mostly waiting on Stack Overflow answers, but nobody has actually like touched that, so who knows? But okay. Life sucks recently. I get the feeling. Yeah. So I guess that's like the 2x2 section. I'm kind of curious by some of these points that it's apparently found. Like there is no 2x2 in here, so there's probably some tinkering I still need to do. But yep, they will teleport when they're trying to get back to the rift. They seem to be doing okay walking around in here now. I'm not 100% certain why. I know they had trouble getting in through here because initially their hitbox was actually just tall enough that combined with the height of this, they wouldn't actually be able to get through this doorway. But now they are fully capable of moving through the doorway and they're consequently able to actually navigate in here decently well. So, yeah, just seeing them happily wander around. I also changed the hitbox of these pieces, by the way, finally. So, you can actually walk up them now. They don't impede your motion like solid blocks. Moonwalking changeling? I mean, they can turn into villagers. Presumably they can turn into Galacticrack villagers. That's not implemented in any fashion, but presumably. Wants to hug a changeling. I mean, I have a screenshot of that, actually, come to think of it. Just whilst I was testing in the other world. Thank you. Just like, yeah. What a nice, what a nice family. Hug time. But okay, so we've gotten them to actually visit their rift every now and then. That probably needs to be tied to when they're further away from it, that kind of thing, so they can actually teleport, like, ideally directly to it, or at least very close to it, and then move around rather than just teleporting a set distance away from their current position. And we need to get them to actually start interacting with the rooms. So, we only have a handful of the rooms currently implemented, so we've got the hatchery, we've got the storage, those are our two major areas. We don't have the ritual room, we don't have any, like, decor rooms, that kind of thing. And the first one we can actually get to work with is probably going to be the storage. The storage is where any items that changelings receive by some fashion, they will carry on their person, store in their internal inventories, and they will take them to the storage to actually deposit them. Those items can then be reclaimed later by other changelings so that they can be used in the ritual that increases the size of the rift, and so increases the size of the hive. Another thing that we need to have to do at some point is have the hatchery create broodbringers. Broodbringers are a special, like, mini-boss kind of changeling, and their job is to accelerate eggs, essentially. So they will create eggs very rarely, but they will also, like, significantly increase the hatching rate. So if you break an egg there, you're going to get in trouble with the Broodbringer. They're sort of like a xenomorph queen, except they're sort of like more like a xenomorph midwife. But anyways, so we can close it of most of that for the moment. And we need hive room behaviors. So here we have the, like, selection that controls what the different things are, what they do, that kind of thing. And we need to actually get these to interact directly with the changelings. Now, the first thing we can try and do is actually see, like, have them only place down the new blocks if there's a changeling nearby. The second thing that we can do is actually have them request that a changeling come by if indeed they're in that situation, but there's nobody there. So, if they are in that situation, if there's not enough egg spots in this particular, like, storage, or actually it's called current eggs, isn't it? Let's change that to be something a bit more meaningful. So, current pots is lower than volume over 8. It should probably be, like, floor space, shouldn't it? So, let's see, what is volume? Yeah, that's fine. It's like, what would we call that? Surface area? So 1 in 8 blocks in the surface area should be one of these things. So, let's see, we need, if world in dot get entities within AABB, we want entity, class extends T, I think that should be what, iChangeling? Yep. Within our room dot get the bands. So if that is empty, we need to find one nearby and actually request their presence. Otherwise, we can actually just get to work. And is your problem that it's not an entity? Seems fine to me, but okay. Right. For that, we can try going to our hive room behavior interface and just giving it a thing of get entities within, and then maybe a sub-thing of get entities of type within. That's fairly straightforward. room, get bounce. How do you declare it? Just so... Weirdly is the answer. There. So now we just have a default function to get everything of that type in that area. Now, presumably, there's a requirement that it actually... like, know what's going on there, like actually recognize entities. It doesn't actually say, T extends entity. Yes, that's the problem. Okay. So, let me see. If class in instance of, I think this would be entity. Otherwise, want to get all the entities and just isolate any that actually meet that class. I think I remember what it is. Is instance, no, I think. Subclass? Nope. I know there's a way to check this, but I can't for life remember what it is. Is assignable. There. I had to bed earlier, so also that is fair. That's a decent reason to go to, like, sleep. Also, this current track is by a guy called Mike Snow, and the text on the, like, album art is kind of small and, like, Legend of Zelda style, so I initially misread that as Mike Snow and thought, oh, we're gonna hear some Genghis Khan. Your problem here. Can I cover from list to list T? Right, yes, of course. Huh. Okay, and then for every entity inside of that list, if instance of class in, then entities dot add the entity. Or can I not do that, apparently? Class in cannot be resolved. It's right there. We used it right there. This is not magic. I haven't mistyped that. What is your problem? class in dot is assignable from ent dot get class. What is your problem here? Hey, Amy. Can I get some sleep? Okay. Night, Marsh. Amy, tonight we are trying to expand the functionality of our changelings so they actually interact with the hives more. So currently all they do is occasionally visit. So what we need to do is actually get a reusable function that allows us to just get the list of changelings inside of our area. There. Cast an object to the class or interface represented by this class object. Good! Okay, that should be fine. Too much. So then we want get entities within room world in changeling. And what is your problem there? Not applicable for classic sense. Okay, right. Right, because it's still asking for entities. And what is your problem? Now. Fine, I'll just do that. We'll just say we have that one for just entities, and this one for actually like anything we like. Any kind of entity-based object. Okay, so our storage is trying to currently build itself. So we need to tell it, we need to ask it, is there a changeling here who could theoretically be construed to be building? And if not, find one. So, request changeling visit. But otherwise, if there's at least one changeling there, we can actually, like, do stuff. And that will mean that our changelings will actually need to be present for the rooms to be functioning, which gives it still a very organic kind of look and feel to it, but will still actually, like, indicate that the changelings are doing stuff. Which is important for us. The interior ones still, like, spread and flow by themselves. All of the rifts do so, rather than actually, like, requiring changelings to be nearby. But it's, especially when considering that they keep returning to the hive, it's not necessarily a good idea if they have to be present for the hive to be built, essentially. So, give and take here, I guess. An underground hive is going to need to be very carefully controlled, because it actually tunnels. But okay. So, get nearest changeling. That's the first step. Let's just jot these down. So, find nearest changeling. Nearest idle changeling, I guess that should be. And trying to think what's the next step here. We can give it a destination point. So you upped the price of hydrate. Basically everything was increased by 10 times per app, so that people don't just have me doing this all evening. Although that one I think is like deemed to 10 only. But hey, as you pointed out, a lot of people have like a lot of points on this channel. But okay, so find the nearest changeling and then, get them to try and come here. That's the main question here. So do I teleport them mandatorily? Or do I try and get them to actually navigate? I think, for at least the time being, Howlbox Fox Stab. I don't know, really. They don't. They have toes. They have beans. They're not very mobile though. Being a cube. Okay. So list T living base. So here's our filter, essentially. And what we're looking for, first and foremost, is this a changeling? And we'll that one. So that'll just give us a list of all the changelings. But we can further refine this to ask if their navigator is actually in fact like active and trying to path, because that probably indicates that they're trying to do something else. So first question: if input instance of changeling, then firstly we know it's an entity living because players can't be changelings yet, at the very least, or at least not in the same way. Creature? Oh, right, of course, I'm an idiot. It's because I'm using input instead of the ent section here, so no matter what I cast this as, it's just going to end up being exactly the same thing. There. So, we get the list of changelings that are currently not attacking anything and currently have nowhere they're trying to path to. Sort that by distance, and then we find the closest one, essentially. Player just hides amongst your changeling hive. I mean, depending on how like savvy you are, you might think that the witch was like the witch's human disguise was an actual player at one point or another. Okay, so changelings dot sort. And I actually probably can just do this as entity living, can't I? Any living base is the route that you go to whenever you want something that can affect players as well, but we can't actually like tell players to just go somewhere. So it's a little irrelevant to that stage. What's the missing? Oh, that's the pair not apply. There. Or if you leave them with X noises, that too. Okay, and if changelings is not empty, then changeling.get, or changelings.get 0, which is say the closest one, then get their navigator, and try to move to the core of this particular room. If we can. actually, we can generate the random points and ask that, like, if that should be where we want to go. If it's got down, then it should also have an up. What do I think here? Because if we pick a position that they can't actually travel to, then it'll just not work, which might be okay. Gives it a bit more like it gives it a bit more like dynamism. Like, sure, these things update relatively slowly, anyways, but. And before I forget, actually make those go to the correct places. There. There'll be at least a few who build a place simply to have a contained hive. Oh, absolutely. I'm expecting that, in fact. There's a reason that they teleport to a degree. It's not only because of the limitations of the generic vanilla Pathfinder, but also because I expect people will try to cage them. There. Okay. So with that, should be able to see this work. Hopefully. Shouldn't be possible for rooms to have empty middle points because of how they're calculated. So the next question is, what is the lowest Y value? Because that should be the truth for every spot across the whole thing. Might not necessarily have like solid footing there, but in theory we can just say minimum Y. That'll at least be significantly more likely to have an actual space. But okay. Let's actually sort this as well. So base it upon the distance to the core. So let's see, if D1 is greater than D2, the number wants to be -1. If typed that incorrectly, never mind me. If D2 is greater than D1, that must be 1, otherwise just 0. D. Hey Cam, how you doing? Like, I'm fully expecting people to have like full containment protocol kind of builds to keep changelings where they are. And they're not meant to be like an unstoppable force. Obviously, they'll keep trying their darndest to grow the rift, and in turn grow the actual maximum size of the hive, but the hive still has to grow, so if you sufficiently contain them, you might not stop the changelings like increasing the size of the hive, but you will absolutely like be able to contain them. But that's not like an easy thing, so particularly considering you might not you might not initially realize where the hives are and where they're going to be. But okay, we got a hive, we got a bunch of changelings in the area. let's reset it all just so that we don't have any existing storages, and see what happens. More case of people wanting to have a hive but not in their base. Plenty of hives will not be in your base. But I had someone recently ask me on Twitter if they would be able to appear inside of, like, words, English language, if they'd be able to appear in, like, different dimensions. And, I don't have any plans for that, but imagine that, a never hive. Okay. And what's that? Shows up in the sky? Because the draw box is still on, we should know the rooms already. There it goes. And crash. Immediate problem. What happened there? Oh, right, yes, that's a loop of itself. Because initially it was just an actual thing. So now it calls the other one? Yes, good. Hurrah. Yeah, we've seen the testing of the creep inside of the Nether, so it's a bit of a weird one there. I think I told it to not replace leaf blocks now, so it shouldn't go on an endless, like, spreading spree inside of jungles. But, Trouble was, leaves should strictly speaking count as like light parsable blocks, but I don't think they actually do to a lot of systems, so consequently the vanilla system might need to be abandoned for that if we want to have them not just grow outwards into forests like that. Okay, so if we see any pots turn up, which are the little green things, then we should know that this is working. Bit of an if, though. We might need to dial down their passage to the rift, though. Hey, Lance. How you doing? So if they try to move to, like, the middle of a room, then we know that it's trying to get them to go there. But obviously the frequency of their, like, visits to the rift might be making it somewhat difficult for them to actually accomplish this. Not 100%. And yeah, that lag issue. Ooh, hang on, did I just... Hey! We got one! Hooray! I don't know that we saw it happen, but we got one. Hooray! That might have just been it detecting that there was a changeling inside of it rather than it summoning one, though. Yeah.
I wanted to let you know I've got to go have a bath.
Okie doke.
And it'll probably be like a couple hours.
Okie doke. Enjoy your bath.
Do you need to use the bathroom at any point? Or
I think I'm good.
for the next 2 hours, hopefully?
Think I'm good.
Okay. Now.
Oh. Yeah, as I say, we have been working very hard to try and get the lag problem solved, but yeah, to a certain degree it probably can't be. It's literally the code for turning a completely arbitrary Minecraft construction and, like, into a group of discernible, like, clarified cuboid rooms. That's genuinely research paper level kind of stuff. And I think I've mentioned this in the Discord, that if I had programmed this in my university degree, I probably would have gotten a better grade. So, Yeah. But okay, so far that seems to be working. Let's add a few sysouts to the room behavior so we can actually see when it's requesting the visit. And then I believe it'll be the time for my first break of the evening. Also, I think that's the correct directions. I could be wrong. Suppose we'll know if it actually does anything. Oh, that's all changeling, that's not just the ones. So, yeah, we do actually need to use the room there. It's like, could I reuse that, like, list? Probably, but maybe not. Think... Yeah, that's good, okay. Okay, and we'll find out if I've done it correctly in about 10 minutes. See then. And welcome back, everybody. So, just before we left there, literally right before we left off there, we actually managed to get a little bit more coding done, and now we need to see if any part of it worked. So, we have a sysout that asks, well, we have a sysout from storage rooms that ask if, well, they ostensibly requisition visits, and if they get somebody, then they will actually... Yep, I can see some requisitions coming in, and I can see some putts going down, although I'm not actually seeing them go down. Can we see them go down? That's the next question. Where's an actual room? A room where pots are placed. Hello? I only see the 2 here. That's interesting, because I've seen more than 2 be placed. Or I guess maybe it's because it's a random point, so it's not necessarily always going to place it. Okay. Also, there seems to be plenty of things here that are asking for this one poor changeling to go everywhere. And server grinds to a halt because the system is recalculating itself. There we go. So I think, yeah, it has to randomly select a piece, and it has to also just pass a 1 in 3 chance. Evidently this side one's also a storage room, okay. The hatchery is doing just fine, because the hatchery doesn't care. But come on, we need to be able to see this. We need to visually verify that it's happening. Don't think we're gonna see that. Okay, so we need to tweak our code just a little bit so that I can figure out if it's being placed and where. But we can verify that that is actually, like, checking, so that's good. Let's also drop in the location. And that would be at the core. Which also tells if something's weird on the weird on the calculation of where they should be walking to. And just while that boots up, which you guys can watch, I'm gonna head over to the Changeling AI code and make the code for visiting the hive be significantly rarer than it currently is. Like 1 in 500, maybe. Don't think that'll take effect fast enough for this particular run, but in a hot second, for sure. So how is everybody tonight? Also, I clearly was not very, on the ball when I actually, like, typed out the sysout for the requesting vision, because what I can see here is storage requestion. Storage requestion visit. Oh, it looks like we do have a new pot. Yep, right here. Okay. I think mostly just following these 2. So this is good so far. They're actually, like, moving around. And I think we hit another leg spike. Yep. See that happening. So there may just be a pot that appears momentarily. So we can see that they're moving around to the different rooms. Yay, there we go. Haha! We can see that I'm moving around to the different rooms. From there, wonder if it's worth having something that actually just tells the room to update when they get there. So that they then actually work. Now, difficulty with that is having an AI task that identifies whether they've been told to go somewhere, and ideally has the actual room inside. Now that's not impossible to do. So here we have the changeling behaviors. So we need public default, I guess it would be, get changeling behavior, and we need an actual class extends entity AI base. So behavior in, and this actually probably wants to take in the creature as well. So we're looking to get a specific kind of AI task from a specific creature. So that's the full list of tasks, and then if, let's see, behavior in dot is assignable, or actually no, we can just probably use instance of. You generally should avoid doing that because it's a little on the heavy side, but nonetheless. This is good. Pyro's no spawns. Well, you just started work lately, so yeah. What are these marked as? Entity AI tasks. That's a set, apparently. I'm trying to think. I know there's a way to do this. What do we have access to here? Action. There we go. So we get to the tasks, we get the task entries, we go for all those, checking their action, and if they are of the right class, then we return the first one. Okay. Let's actually make a mark that that's the first one. Okay, so now we can actually create a behavior of a specific class and have the storage room, find that inside of the nearest changeling, ask them to come along, and then when it ends, then we can actually have the changeling trigger the room to update. Hurrah! Obviously now we need an AI test that would be useful in doing so. What would this be? Entity AI changeling help room? Use room? Yeah, I guess we say use room. Okay, the mob consists of a single creature, which will visit these rooms and presumably break some kneecaps. Okay, and then we want a reset task to make sure that the target room is null. I also want, ideally, the world. We're not going to probably use the world for just right now, but we will need the navigator. And every single time I type the navigator, my brain immediately goes to Flight of the Navigator. I am the navigator! Because I'm a massive dork. There. So we're basically just creating essentially an AI task that we can have an external thing activate. There's a similar thing that kind of happens in one or two vanilla entities, I forget which ones, but they will have specific things be tacked onto or interacted with by other things. Villagers, I think, might be one of the ones I'm thinking of, because there's the trading task somewhere around here. Apparently not. But you can use that to actually, like, have the villagers stare at the person they're actually trading with. And then we can just go to our hive room behavior, and wherever we set that, we can just tell that to happen, really. And we want that to continue. Boolean continue. Executing until the creature is actually in that room. So let's see, we want to say that we still don't have, well, let's include should execute, so those terms are still correct. Target room get boundaries dot contains the mob's position. Okay, and then an update task. So if the navigator doesn't have a path, we want to keep trying. Maybe our position's gone weird or something. reset task. If we're in position, then we want to say it, otherwise, if we're given a reason to stop, otherwise. So let's just have a boolean here. Is inside room. So if is inside room, then tell room to update. Should be able to tell you to do stuff here. What do we have to, I'm trying to remember where we tell, where do we get that part from it? Let's see, update rooms, get behavior for room. We probably want to have a tag of what the actual like behavior of that room is then. And now we do the random of the world. Got the whole world in that one little variable. It's got the whole world in that one little variable. Okay. Now, obviously, that's not quite the right thing, because that's not actually the random that's involved. Because the random here is actually drawn from the rift. But, right now, at the very least, that should be fine. So we only execute it if something has already told it where to go. We don't take any new orders if indeed it's already busy. We then also try to path continually until we fail for whatever reason. Either we've got attack target or whatnot. And otherwise, I think we're good. So as long as we don't have an attack target, we are busy, meaning we have a target room, and we're not inside the room, we keep trying. And just to be extra clear here, if we still don't have a path after that, then target room just equals null. It's like, there isn't a path to go here, so consequently we should just stop buffering. But now of course we need a behavior inside of here. Behavior, like that one company that does not have the slightest clue how to actually update its game. There. Hey! Hooray! It's the closest that one can do. It's the closest the box fox can do. Is that salt? I don't know what you mean, Pura. I don't know what you mean. Also, we could just pass the Rand straight through. That's an idea. But right now, let's actually just get this going. So new entity AI changeling use room. I guess it's technically operating room, nonetheless. Okay, and we have a function to actually potentially retrieve that. So next, hive room behaviors again. Looking for an actual changeling, and instead of asking for, well, we want to ask if it's got no attack target, if it's not going somewhere currently, and we want to try and then get its AI task. So, let's see, use task, I guess? Behavior, entity, AI, changeling, use room. All for this particular entity. What is your problem here? Class extends NDI based on any creature. Okay, right. That's... You can probably fix that. Yep, no trouble there. No trouble there. Okay. So return. Use task does not equal null. Shouldn't ever, but just in case. And entity AI changeling. Use room. Use task. Dot is busy. So not is busy. There. Okay. So now we have a list of changelings that are not currently actively busy, and could be made to be busy. So next stop is to find our nearest changeling, so that would be entity living, nearest changeling is there. And then we need to get that again and set where it's going. Request visit to our room, and this. Do we have a room? No, we just have a room, not room in. There we go. Okay. So now the rooms should get updated when the changeling visits. Okay. So let's just make sure that we see that happen. Changeling, updating room. And I'm actually gonna rename this to operate room, I guess. That's a little bit more clear. Or function room, room function, either way. Okay. That should have the side effect that no two rooms should try and order the same changeling. Although it won't necessarily stop them from ordering multiple changelings, I guess. That's... we could solve that, but it's not a huge problem right now. Like, if a room gets activated twice before either of the changelings it's ordered come along, it will nonetheless still order two. Let's see how we go. It's fun multitasking, adulting, and watching stream. L? What are you up to? Welcome back, Kim. Okay. Occurs to me I did not give myself any kind of readout to say whether or not somebody had been requested yet. Of course, this is still exclusive to the storage rooms, so might be a ways before we see anything happening. So just to make that a bit clearer on my end at the very least, because I can see the console, you guys can't. Work out your income and if you would qualify for disability aid. Ooh, good luck with that. Simply need a phone. I mean, yeah, they're pretty essential, I have to say. Although that said, I kept with my original phone before this for like over a decade. And it was a piece of garbage, but it did everything I needed it to do. That said, now I've gotten that, and I have the capability to do much more things. I've started doing a lot more things with it. But okay, so changeling attempting to update room. And let's also just set that. So obviously they'll stop actually trying to go and update a room if they have an attack target for whatever reason. That seems reasonable. We don't want people trying to go and like add a pot when somebody's like actively attacking them. You don't have a phone, period. The only phone that has is grandma's. Ooh, like landline as well, or is grandma's at least a mobile phone or a cellular phone? So we've gone ostensibly from rooms trying to request changelings and just waiting for one to be there to rooms actively telling changelings to continually try and visit. And if one happens to come sooner, then yeah. So currently, we don't seem to be getting any requests through. Pretty decent phone, but it isn't mine, and you occasionally would like privacy on who contacts you. Fair! Very fair. I do like how their feet semi-blend into the floor here. That's good. That's good, Chuck. These guys are very aesthetic. And we have a crash. So something happened there. What happened? Operate room started happening, apparently. Wait, so what cold is inside room then? Presumably what happened there is they determined they were in the room and then continue executing, checked if they were inside it yet. We don't know where it is, we must therefore assume. But hey, that was good progress. Because that means it was actually firing. Getting a phone will mean changing all your contact details, which means going through all your paperwork. Yeah. Familiar with that one. Okay, so we have a sys out in the request, we have a sys out in the start, and we have a sys out in the end, so we should be able to see this go properly. Because right now, they both appear to be in the same room, I think, just about, so, But if we give them long enough, we should hopefully see them work through. Barring the lag spikes that we get quite regularly here. Which definitely, we definitely need to fix the lag. I feel like I've said that a dozen times already, but the lag needs to be fixed. Because this will not be playable if it keeps doing that. Well, ish. It'll be playable-ish. And I think flying's currently looking at multi-threading, possibly. Multi-threading is not something I've ever even remotely touched upon. I don't know if Minecraft is even capable of it. If it is, then that probably would be a solution, but... that'll be how we accomplish it, not the foggiest. So we are currently essentially just babysitting our changelings, waiting to see if they'll be ordered to a room at all. So we got, what, 3 of them in here, I think? Yeah, one over there, one over here, one over there. And crash again. Okay, something is up. Hive room behaviors had a problem. Okay, but it was in the actual, like, finishing, so there's that. What was the null pointer, I wonder? Yeah, room, requested visits, changeling was attempting to update the room, and then, yeah, different rooms, so different changelings. Good! That's a good thing we wanted to see. That's positive, despite the fact that we just crashed the game. So, okay, what was the problem? Ah, we have inside room, but of course we didn't have a target room. So I feel we can probably actually just have a separate value here. Attempt... There's an exact word here, which would work perfectly, but I feel like these days especially has a lot of negative connotations, which I might not necessarily want to put into my code. One moment while I check for a synonym. Discontinue. Let's go with that. So instead of just clearing out the room, we'll just say we should discontinue. Spell the word, there we go. Get the distinct impression that Dusty at the very least knows what word I'm referring to, but yeah, we can maybe understand then why I'm not putting it in here. There. Now we shouldn't have the nulls anymore. That shouldn't be, like, possible. But we'll keep that there just in case. Never know. Believe me, you never know. So we saw 3 different rooms send out requests to different changelings. Potentially there were more rooms that were trying to update and just couldn't, because there weren't any remaining changelings able to actually, like, ask. And later on we'll have to make sure, we'll have to essentially ask the, like, type of changeling that we're looking at, whether or not it has a specific type of room. Because there are some that will be specific to certain rooms. So there's, like, the value get home room, which for most is just null, meaning they can just go to anywhere. But if it's, like, a broodbringer, their specific home room is a hatchery. So we shouldn't ask broodbringers to leave hatcheries.
Why do changelings stay inside the hive during the winter? Swarm.
It's not bad, actually. It's just... Oh, Burra. Okay, once again, you're just gonna wait. There's no random should I actually do stuff here. Okay, there we go. Requesting visits, changing, attempting to update the room. Good. Don't see anybody going anywhere, but apparently they did. I might need to have, like, a guarantee update and just a casual update. So then the Rift activates the casual update, and then the changelings activate the guarantee. Had a pun contest the other day. You need to keep your pun wits sharp. You had a pun contest recently? That's a thing? Yeah. I am seeing actual things happen here, so that's good. But we don't actually have the sys out in the storage to say that it succeeded, so, Oh, let me saw a little nest pop up right there. We have two of them standing pretty much stock center, so that's probably for the benefit. That said, we might just be lagging right now. Who knows? So, okay. Yeah, let's break these down to guaranteed and, like, casual, essentially. For most things, that will probably be the same thing. I swear I know the voice of whoever's saying what is up for the world in this track, but I could not remotely tell you what. Ended in a draw. Oh dear. Hardy har. Okay, so then operate room we'll call function. Here. And then the other one, function casual, should be the one that gets called by other things. No, apparently nothing uses that. There you are. That's what I'm looking for. So function casual. There we go. Good. Okay. So function casual for the storage is request a visit if we need one, whereas the actual main function of it is place up storage pod. So if there's no changes around, then basically nothing happens. So if there's nobody here to do anything and we don't have enough pots, then we request a changeling visit. When a changeling visits, it actually calls the thing that places the pot. Haha. And for at least the moment, I'm going to take out the random. There, so it's not just 1 in 3, it's just basically guaranteed. So, else call function. Okay. So again, for most things, it's just identical stuff. In theory, we could have most of that just recur as well, just a matter of what block are we looking for in the area. Okay. That shouldn't have broken anything, crucially. This is a lot of staring at hives, waiting for things to potentially happen, so apologies for that. It's not the most visceral of entertainment tonight. essentially this will be ticketless, like, interaction between changelings and hives, and that'll be very helpful. So if there is a changeling in the room already, then they call, well, they just, like, call their main function and actually place a block. If there isn't, they request one, and when that changeling gets here, they update it. Your 25th birthday? Your remember made you a Minecraft-based cake, complete with a mini-me, a mini Minecraft cake made of fruit roll-ups and white chocolate, and a creeper, and the main cake was a scene of the overworld complete with grass blocks. That sounds amazing. Yep, saw a pot get placed. Nice. Good. Everybody's in distinct locations. A lot of storage in this particular, place here, but, I'm just gonna add a little bit to the reset task here of telling the navigator just clear its path so it stops moving. Yeah, so another one over here. Grand. So for a little bit of extra check, let's reset the hive, which I'm probably going to regret because it will take so much CPU. Clear everything out. Some things will actually be able to just say, have a function in the room that's just like dismantle or some such. Other things, it'll be a matter of, you guys aren't moving around very much right now, that kind of worries me. Apparently the game isn't frozen. Yeah, they're just... you guys just aren't doing much. Hi? Friend? You should have stopped doing stuff. Little disconcerting. Little disconcerting. I mean, they're flapping their wings, but that's mostly an entity update thing. Let's just reload and see if they start moving again, because that's very curious. That indicates they might still be trying to do stuff. Possibly including moving to a position they can't actually get to. Okay, so everybody's there. Let's place back the hive. My god. It's a Cerberus changeling. They all just get cold there, looks like it. 3 of them got cold there. Yep, and it seems to have worked. Hooray! Anybody getting cold elsewhere? Perhaps? Maybe so? Just... you guys got a secret? You got a secret, guys? That room's definitely not gonna have any trouble updating, that's for sure. Yep, plenty of pots going on down there. They're conspiring against me. My AI are always conspiring against me. That's just sort of like what they do. Are we missing somebody? I feel like we had 4. Why are you on the roof again? No. But I'm sure we had 4. Hello? Anyone? Yeah, I'm sure there's 4, because I can kind of hear somebody over. There you are. Huh, found you. Hooey. Okay, next stop. As we see there, the room continues to order people to, like, visit, whether or not there's actually anybody already set to do so. So the next thing we do is make sure, well, check if there are any people that are busy that are also trying to come to this room. That's our next thing. That's very, very straightforward though, so it's not hard. So let me see, to accomplish that, we probably need to get a list of changelings that are actually busy. Just like a boolean. To clean the code up a bit. So similar there, we want to get that list. And here we want to ask them if there are any whose like operate room task is set to go here, to the core of that room. Which shouldn't be too difficult, and if we find anything, then we can just return true, so just return not changelings.isEmpty. And then we should only request one person at a time. Rather than bogarting the entire hive. Are we not have an actual thing here of... So we don't care about that. We are now specifically looking for ones that are busy. So if use task does not equal null, if is busy and room.getCore equals room task destination. There. So if there's nobody here and there's no changelings currently trying to visit, request a visit. Otherwise, if there's somebody here, we just call the function anyways. Okay. That should now mean that we don't end up with 3 people all just piled into the one tiny room. Anyways, time for my next break. See you in a moment. And welcome back, everybody, to the final hour of our stream tonight, and we have accomplished some interesting things. So, just before we left there, we actually created a function asking if there was any changeling visiting this room. We then also created a function that just encapsulated all of the code necessary to find somebody who's not busy doing something and ask them to come and help. And just quickly off stream there, I created an extension of the Hive room behavior interface, so we can actually just call that. It just has those functions in there, so we can use them for all of our changeling Hive rooms without just baking them into everything. So yeah. And now we get to see if this actually works, and then we can just port most of that code back here to the hatchery as well. And essentially what we're going for here is that the creep and the hive build itself for the most part through the rift, but then the changelings go around and they turn the creep into various other things. So they turn it into points where they can put eggs, they turn it into points where they can store items. So the hive itself could be said to be like a product of the rift. It's like exuded by the rift, but the actual functions and operations of the hive are run by the changelings. Visually, at the very least. In actuality, the hive is just making the changelings turn up, but that's about it. Which makes things a lot more controllable, it has to be said. So what we should see now is only one changeling going at a time, rather than the three in a corner that we had before. Because we got those three right there. We've got a hatchery over here, a hatchery over here, because it had the room that any room that contains the rift is automatically a hatchery. That's just the way they think, the way it's coded. And with a little bit of watching, we should hopefully see some stuff happen. Hopefully. It will tell us when it places one at the very least. Might be worth us actually telling it reset. Particularly since you're all in here, so why not? Oh, it's recalculating. Remarkably effective lag check here, isn't it? The changelings do also, they set their home hive to whatever the last one they tried to visit was. So that's the one they always try to go back to, until that one is no longer there. So this should be, at the very least it's a proof of concept, of changelings being commanded by rooms in order to facilitate their operation. After that, we need to get changelings actually themselves interfacing with the hive in order to say, okay, here's my last known hive location. Did it have a storage that I can go and drop my items off? Okay, we got somebody over here. We got two people over there apparently. I don't know if that was just you grouping up or something. You're stood right there. You're going back there. Do we only have the three of these, maybe? I don't know. Additionally, they're still not moving again, which worries me. They're going there, and then they're stopping, which is disconcerting to say the least. Because they should be allowed to move around. Whoop. Was that just lag? No? I mean, the room definitely qualifies them as being inside of it, because it's actually being able to place the pots. So... I wonder. Well, let's expand the code to the hatcheries and see if they spread out a little more at the very least. And then we can try to figure out why they stop moving. So, just as before, function casual. And we also want function, which essentially just does that chunk of code. And let me see, we want min would be the room's min. And we need the size as well. So if current eggs is lower than the specified volume, find a nearby changeling, or see if there's any changelings in the area. And if there aren't, and there's nobody visiting, request a visit. Otherwise, call the main function. If there's somebody here, we can presumably be able to place it. But okay, that should be good. For right now, at the very least. So they'll be responsible for like being in a room when the pots go down, as well as in a room when the nests go down, where the eggs go later. They will also... The Broodbringer will be able to place eggs on nests that are already there without having any interaction, but changelings will be able to go back to a hive and place an egg. Or at least I think so. There's a very fine line that I need to tread between making them actually interact with the hive, or making them more dependent upon the hive, and also retaining their capacity to be hidden. Because if you breed an animal with a changeling, it should produce a changeling. It should produce an animal. But if it doesn't, then you're going to be kind of suspicious. If it doesn't do that, so the changeling goes back and places the egg, then it's suspicious, because you definitely just bred them, but nothing popped out. So, yeah. Something to consider. Maybe the hatcheries just naturally, gradually produce more changelings. Okay, so now everybody's responsible for all of the things. And you seemed like you're on a mission going there. So let's once more get rid of everything. Why not both? Because the second that you breed an animal and you don't see a result, you know, one of these at least is a changeling. One or both of these animals is a changeling. Like, it's not really enough to just say, oh, well, maybe it was just a bug because I'm in modded or something, or maybe there was a server glitch. It's just like, every single time I try to breed these two animals together, nothing happens. Like, it's not very discreet at that point. It's a similar question as to, like, how do non-villager changelings, like, how do they deal in getting items for the rituals to put in storage and whatnot? It's like, do they just take it from their drops when you shear them or try to milk them or something? What happens? Okay, there's two people there. That should only be the one room, though. Particularly if they're sitting around in the same place. And there's also two people over here, which is curious indeed. Okay, no, one of them's moving. Good. Where are you going to? You're just visiting the hive, okay. And then you got called back here. But there's already somebody there. So, what happened? Why are we seeing two? That's my question here. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say it's to do with how block positions are compared. Because Block positions are a vec-free eye, but they don't necessarily have a direct comparison. So, need to get a little bit more complex here. That's fine. So hopefully that fixes that up. We know that we can actually retrieve the right behavior because they're going to the rooms. So from there, we should be able to identify if they're busy, and from there, if we can identify that they're busy, we can check if they're going to the right room. Don't know why it's specifically getting 2 per. It might just be only finding the right ones. So yeah, the rift lays down the base material, the firmament, the foundation, and then the changelings actually turn it into a functioning hive. Or at least that's what it looks like. It's not quite what's actually happening. Less wool drop and it keeps one, that's entirely possible, that's an option. That works for sheep though, not necessarily for pigs and, well, especially not for pigs who have no base drop, they just get killed. For cows, it's a little harder because you can kill them to get leather and beef, but also you can use them to get milk, but milk doesn't get used very often, and if we say that it's milk, does it just not return a milk for once, like every so often, or what? Do you just lose a bucket? Like, chickens are fairly straightforward. Chickens just poop out eggs. Just like, okay, I was about to drop an egg, I'm gonna store that in my inventory for later, that kind of thing, but there's not necessarily a method that works for all of the available animals. Also, if it turns out we can't figure out a solution for pigs, then you're gonna lose a lot of rep. You're gonna lose a lot of changeling rep by virtue of the like pigs getting slaughtered. Whoop. Somebody's on a mission? Where are you headed? Just headed to visit home. Okay. You, I think, were told to... No? Okay. Right, I can check the console. I can see when somebody gets ordered. Nope, there's definitely a few requests here. Yep. We definitely seem to have one person per room now, at the very least. I don't think you've been ordered anywhere. Carl? I don't know a Carl. And these are like looking at the console, these are definitely distinct areas. But it might be that I feel like it might be triggering, I'm not 100% certain. But the greater question is, it seems like it's not triggering, like not completing the AI task because they are chiefly just standing around instead of like going anywhere. Maybe that's just because we don't have enough changelings to, like, go around or something, I don't know. Just yet. But that is good. They stand in a place, and things appear out of the creep. That's good. That's progress. Oh, it might literally just be that the second they have time to, like, wonder, stuff happens. Maybe I just need to change the mutex bits. That's entirely possible. Mutex bits are a bitwise operation. And I was never taught bitwise operations, so I keep having to relearn them over and over and over. But that looks pretty good. We've got changelings at work building stuff. Yay. And I think this one was trying to go over here, but it got called away. Yay! So we've got rooms requesting a changeling, essentially, waiting if they have already requested a changeling, and that changeling hasn't given up yet. And when the changelings get there, they guaranteed update the room so that it can get its structures and do its other functions and whatnot. Hurrah! So we can ensure that the structures inside the hive actually get built based upon the actual presence of a changeling. Yeah! Very nice, very nice. Yeah. What would my grandmother think? Sorry, girl. Right, so yes, the next step is when our changelings have items, we need to actually tell them to deposit them, and we need to then start implementing the ritual room, which will require some decor, so that will require building, and then it will have to ask changelings to bring an item. And if it then has enough items, then we can add that as a changeling behavior to say, find a ready-to-go ritual room and go there to perform the ritual. And then when the ritual room has enough changelings active in it, then we can actually get it to perform that. And it's not a guarantee every time. It's not a, like, perform the ritual, rift grows one size. No, it's a random thing. So the more often they do it, the more, like, large the rift can get. But it's not a case of every single time they sacrifice a half dozen eggs or something, the rift grows in the rift grows size. It's also, like, exponential, so it's, like, less and less likely. But nonetheless, that's a thing we'll have to program. And oh, that's just, things are popping up quite lovely here. Granted, I did make sure it was, like, I did take out the randomness, just so it was like, if this is a place it can go, it goes here. So they're just continually going there. Yay! Insta-X. Yeah, I'm still, yeah, I'm gonna have to ponder. I'm going to have to cogitate somewhat upon, what exactly our, solution's gonna be with the eggs. Because we want to have this, we want to have the hatchery. We want to have eggs. Changelings should have eggs. But if we don't want them to be discovered really easily, then we need to be very cautious about under what circumstances eggs are placed into a hatchery as opposed to just a live birth, as it were. So, yeah, gotta balance that. Yeah, I seem to recall we did sort by distance, didn't we? So they are picking the closest person. The closest free person. And I think with the hatcheries, what's the ratio? For hatcheries, it is 1/3. Must be like egg positions. I feel like it might be getting a bit higher than that. Just a smidge. It should be like 1/8 for these ones, but that doesn't seem to be happening much. And again, there's still a lot of room to move around. Presumably once these rooms are completed, and once they have enough of their pots, then these guys should get summoned by other rooms. Presumably. Who knows? Eat grass, look at this for hive? I don't know what you mean there, Espa. Could you be a little more thorough? But yeah, this is good progress. Oh, have you been released from hatchery building duty up there? Nope. No, you haven't. It still wants somebody up there. But at least they're being allowed to visit occasionally, that's nice. Yeah, I might also change the modeling and the texturing up on the top part block kind of models, so that it's less as above, as below, so above here. Like, so we actually have like maybe more of a forest little aesthetic there. So maybe the ceiling looks actually more like leaves than just straight up grass. And I definitely want to redo the like little squares that are in the floor here as well, so they actually like connect more than they are just like dotted around. Just to give it a bit more of a contiguous look. But I think we're doing well here. I think this is good progress. Like, the more that the creep turns the inside of your building into like the interior of a dense forest, the better. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, I'm liking this. This is good. Right. So, yeah, need to think about how, under what context the eggs come up. Animals who eat grass get an item from grass, like seeds that they keep or something. So, just the sheep, you thinking? Because there's only the one that eats grass. This is really nice. I'm so happy with this. Oh yes, there was one other thing I've been working on lately, this past week. Cows? Do cows eat grass? Oh, we now can't escape. Excuse me. Need to leave. Where was it? There you are. Okay. Might as well do this with the ore as well. So we got the disembodied heart, which I think I've already showed off in a video, no less, which is the direct connection to your most valuable possession. That is a artifact grade item. This is not craftable, this is not even in loot actually right now, but if you place it down, it will directly apply any potions that it has input to your person. It only works on vanilla potions, but nonetheless, that does give you quite an advantage on things. And here we have Mountain Heart Ore. So you can find this very rarely, and let's just set the time to demonstrate a thing. So as you get through it, it gets brighter and brighter, and eventually it actually drops this mountain heart, which also glows, but that's kind of secondary to its effect. And first thing it does is that you can place it, it's interesting and floaty. If we have two of them though, it starts to get a bit more wibbly. Because it will it will always try to like glue itself together into one thing. If a given one is placed within 16 blocks, to be clear. Beyond that, I still need to do a bit of work on it, because it's not, I feel like it's not quite getting the appropriate thing. But yeah, you can see you can place a lot, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it does have an intended function, which will not be implemented just yet. But basically, do I want to reveal? That is the question. It might be a long while before its function is actually revealed, is the thing. Well, you tell me, chat. Do you want to know what the Mountain Heart does now, or when I'm actually at a point where I can implement it? Because I only implemented this so far because it has to occur in World Gen, and I didn't want it to be that you got to like so and so far into your world, and then I released the version that actually uses them, because then you wouldn't be able to find them because there's literally a handful of those per world. Like, it'd be like when you started. It would be like when you when you updated Minecraft right as like strongholds were added. Having played on the same map for like a year or something, like you weren't able to find strongholds anymore. Dusty is saying yes. Anybody else? Anyone else? So yeah, I had to implement the Mountain Heart to be in, and I wanted to make sure the Mountain Heart was like actually something available, because I didn't want to potentially lock off new content specifically to new worlds down the road. And also, it's just fun to toss in. I only see 1 vote for yes. I'm saying that's insufficient. 2, I'm gonna say 2 is insufficient as well. Cam doesn't mind. Abstain! How many people are in chat currently? Yeah, we got a few. We got Arch, Stila, Cam, Commander Root, Dusty, Espa, Kanzaki, Marsh, Para, V and K, Virgo, and Zaki. So, come on guys, give me some votes here. Espa doesn't mind, Para doesn't mind. That's 3 votes for don't mind and 2 for yes. Yeah, I'm gonna say that is insufficient to reveal what exactly, like, the Mountain Heart is meant to do, but I'll give you at least a couple of clues. So, the first is, these things are also part of World Gen. These are much more common than the Mountain Hearts. These are not population limited. And they're meant to interact. And beyond that, the only teaser I can give is that they are related to a very old project that was abandoned for numerous very positive reasons. And they're called dwarf statues. That's all you get. So other than that, hope you've all enjoyed tonight. That is about all I have for you. And my next stream will be tomorrow at 7 PM, where we have some more Dungeons and Dragon hats with the second campaign, Abandoned Graves, where hopefully we get to see more of my wonderful non-binary, well, agender entirely, like Warforged friend, just wrecking face. And after that, on Thursday at 9, we have some more Monster Hunter World, and then on Friday, we have a brand new game for Friday night. We're gonna be playing some Vampire for a bit. At least until, like, Dead by Daylight cleans its act up a bit. And then we have, of course, some more Dungeons and Dragon hats on Saturday at 7, followed by the Carousel at 9, and we'll be back to working with our changelings and such, getting them to interact a bit more binary. Well, double lane, like, getting them to interact more with the hives and such, replacing items and the like. Other than that, I do make YouTube videos, believe it or not, over at youtube.com/RemoComic, and everything I do, literally, seriously, you guys keep my lights on and everything. Everything I do is powered by you at Patreon, at patreon.com/Lime, as well as a little bit for the Twitch subscriptions and the donations and bits and whatnot. Not as much for the stream, for like the channel points, but oh well. Speaking of,
1 more for luck.
thank you very much, Espa. So yeah, if you have any spare cash, it's been a rough 3 months, and it's not getting easier at this point. So yeah, any support, greatly appreciated. It's the only thing that lets me do this. There is no other option for me. But other than that, hope you've all enjoyed, and I will as ever catch you all next time.